Hey everybody, it's Danielle with Allergic Primary Care. We're here with Dr. John, APRN, and our guest this week is Miss Amyleigh Foster. So thank you for coming on, and this will be an exciting one, so we're glad you're watching. So Amyleigh, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Amyleigh Foster. I am a health and wellness coach. I work with women with Hashimoto's to take them from feeling defeated to feeling confident. I am also a patient of Dr. John's and have been with him for a little bit over 2 years, and he has been an instrumental part in my healing journey. So
that's awesome to hear. Can we go back to the beginning? So back to 2 years ago, or a little over 2 years ago. How did you first hear of Dr. John, APRN?
I heard about him through a friend who was a patient of his, and she was like, "Oh, I've got this cool new doctor. He's a concierge. He's come to my house and give me a checkup." So I was like,
that really didn't sound very good.
Anyway, I was like,
Was it Jamie?
no, it was Michelle.
Okay, Michelle. Okay, because that's the same area.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I reached out because I was feeling very unsatisfied with the healthcare that I was getting. I was suffering from thyroid eye disease and hypothyroidism at the same time, and it was a very painful time in my life, emotionally and physically, and I didn't have a lot of energy, but I guess I had that like one tiny bit of energy to reach out to a new doctor, and we connected, and I liked what he had to say, so I went with it.
I like what she had to do. Really. So what I had to say, maybe not too much, but that's not true. Probably had a lot to say.
Definitely.
Hey, I like to talk. I'm a personable guy. It's Amyleigh's been with us for over 2 years, and it's still a daily journey.
It is.
To be honest, right? And so I think a lot of times you get on podcasts and you're talking about the success of your business, the success of your patient, and the success this and the success that. But reality, it's it's a constant journey that involves battling on a daily basis, especially when it comes to autoimmunity.
Absolutely.
I got emotional when you first started talking because I know your battle.
Yeah.
And so the biggest reward I could have ever had really was when you came to me and said, I think I'm going to become a health coach and help other women with Hashimoto's, right?
Yes.
And that was super special to me. But I also, peeling back that onion,
mm-hmm.
right? I also know that you work every day on your health and wellness.
I do. I work on my health, my wellness, and my mindset. So I get up every day and I put in the work, and it's okay because it aligns with my values, and feeling really well every day and being able to be there for the people in my life and having the energy for them is what is of value to me. So taking aligned action is actually easy at this point.
And it's really starting, that mindset plays such a big part of it, doesn't it?
100%.
And I think when we first started just building relationships, just building rapport, getting to know each other. What do you know? What do you know? How do you feel? What did you experience? And that whole listening, communication relationship, that we were able to develop a plan that still continues to be manipulated.
Yes.
Here and there. I mean, you definitely drink a lot more celery juice today than you used to.
Definitely do.
And you're one of a couple patients that we have that actually adjust your own thyroid medicine based off of season, temperature, what have not, travel.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of quite interesting.
Yeah, it's been, I feel really integral to my healing journey to be an active participant in my healthcare. And that's not something that you get the option to do in a lot of medical institutions. I have some clients who don't even have any communication with their doctors after they get their blood drawn. They just go into the pharmacy one day and there's a prescription waiting for them. They have no clue why there's adjustments made or anything like that. So that's something I definitely work on with my clients to help them to advocate for themselves more.
I like that. You know, I hope my patients advocate for themselves too, right?
You do, absolutely.
It's whether it's through their specialists, through their other providers, because I'm not everybody's primary care provider. Some of them I'm just dealing with autoimmune and, you know, just disease or, you know, hypothyroidism. And I talked to someone today and they have a functional health care provider, they have a primary care provider, and they want us to be the mediator. They want us to be the link between, because they feel like neither one of them are listening. You know, and they need someone to just kind of help guide them through the minutia of the system, right?
Absolutely.
And so being your own advocate is key.
Yes.
You know, we don't do everything perfect here by any means. And like I sent someone a message today, I'm like, listen, if you don't hear from me in this amount of time, message me, because either the message got lost or I forgot.
Right.
Because I mean, you know, we do a lot more than just primary care, and so you have all these moving bits and pieces.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, and you know, you mean well, but you kind of things slip through the cracks a little bit. And so and we don't do a lot of instant gratification here.
What do you mean by that?
So we don't get to where we are overnight.
No.
You're not going to get fixed overnight. And so we really talk about the journey, and that this is going to be a journey. Here's the reality. We want people to face the reality so that they can start working on that mindset change right away. Because if you don't, then they think, oh, John's going to prescribe me T4 and T3 and low dose naltrexone, and my hypothyroidism is going to be back to normal, and I'm no longer going to have losing hair, I'm no longer going to have hot flashes or not cold hands and feet or not be, you know, my libido is going to go back to normal and all these things because I took a pill.
Yeah, if only. It was
So,
easy.
Speaking on that, can you describe your journey with yourself and where you've come to today? Because, I mean, like you've said, you've joined 2 years ago, and today you're a health coach, right?
Yes.
A health coach.
Yeah.
So can you describe to us what challenges you've had to overcome and what you've gone through in the past 2 years to get to where you are today?
Sure. If I could just take it back a little bit further.
Sure.
I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism at 16, and it was constant battle of up and down, hypo and hyper, over medication, and then just constantly swinging. I also had incredibly bad issues with my menstruation, and it eventually evolved into, in 2018, about 5 years ago, developing thyroid eye disease. So at that time, I didn't really know what to do at all. The only thing that traditional medicine tells you to do is just sit and wait it out. Now there are some biological medications that they do, which are really beneficial from what I hear at stopping progression of thyroid eye disease, but basically it was just a waiting game, and I have been active for an incredibly long time. They tell you it's about 2 to 3 years, but it can be 5, it could be 10 years. It's just a waiting game. So when I came to Dr. John, I was probably at my absolute rock bottom. You can imagine, like, not only do you feel terrible every day and you have really low self-efficacy because, you don't really know why you have zero energy and you just feel really lousy every day. So I imagine that, but then coupled with it, you look in the mirror, you don't recognize yourself anymore because your face is starting to become twisted and deformed. It's just really defeating. So I was probably at my lowest point. I reached out to Dr. John, and we, first and foremost, I guess probably the most important component was starting T3 because I wasn't converting anything. We also switched over to a compounding pharmacy, which was really important because
you're allergic to everything.
I have a lot of food sensitivities, yes, absolutely. And most people don't know, but Synthroid is cut with either gluten, it could be corn, it can be dairy. So if you are allergic to any of those things and taking that medicine, you're not going to be absorbing any of the medication. So we switched up the medication, and I started autoimmune protocol, which is a huge component of why I feel better. I went on an elimination diet, and I'm still on that elimination diet. So it took about 90 days for me to start feeling like absolutely amazing, and then I woke up on that 90th day and I suddenly dropped 25 pounds and felt amazing. So I guess the rest is history. I'm down 50 pounds overall with no exercise needed. I exercise now because I like it and it makes me feel good, but I did not exercise. I just got a lot of sleep. I ate an anti-inflammatory diet and I reduced my stress load. And I guess those really big things. I started taking a bunch of supplements that didn't have any allergens in them. So those were all of the missing pieces for me.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, I think the journey's really just starting. It's kind of like being a black belt in martial arts, right?
Yes.
The journey's getting to the black belt, and then once you get the black belt, then it's starting over. And I think what I love about our relationship is that you're like, yeah, I'm on this journey, but I want to share it and give it back to others. And you kind of made that kind of like a life commit, right?
Absolutely.
From the fat snook, waiting tables, and you do some things with managing properties and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to go from that lifestyle to dedicating your life and your journey to sharing it with others, it's pretty cool.
Well, there's just a lot of darkness in the Hashimoto's community because people feel so bad and they're not listened to by their doctors or healthcare providers. It's invisible. People tell you don't look sick, and you start to think sometimes that it's a moral flaw and there's a character flaw with you as opposed to you're actually sick, because it's not acknowledged. So my mission is to help people to switch their mindset and advocate for themselves and to make the lifestyle changes that are necessary to get relief from their symptoms, because it doesn't have to be a miserable life at all.
So if someone's looking to come to you, how do they find you?
AmyleighFoster.com is my website. On Instagram, I'm XO Amyleigh Foster, and on YouTube, I am Foster Wellness Coaching.
Awesome.
It's pretty cool. So how long does a normal, like a coaching session, so every coaching is a little different. So if you take on a new client who is newly diagnosed with hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's type, from the beginning of the program through what's that journey look like the first couple months?
Yeah, so I have 2 coaching packages. One is a 3-month coaching package, and the other one is a 6-month coaching package. Usually in the first 3 months, it's very self-directed for the client. So we discuss eliminating foods and lifestyle changes that can work, but it's going to be different for everybody. And a lot of people get relief just by going dairy and gluten-free. So it doesn't always have to be the full elimination, although it's really just a matter of how sick you are. So first off, we usually start with food and lifestyle modifications, and then as we go on, especially in my 6-month package, people start feeling better and they can start accomplishing the goals in their lives that they've actually been wanting to make for so long, but they've been in survival mode, so it hasn't been possible. So my goal is to get you from survival to thriving by the end of 6 months.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question then. How long did it take us to find out how allergic to eggs you were?
Well, that would probably have been right around the first time I tried to reintroduce them, because it did not go well.
Yeah.
See, originally you had recommended that I go paleo, and I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to go the whole way. And I was like, no, I know I don't have a problem with eggs. They're totally fine, but I'm just going to eliminate them. The first time I brought them back in, my entire face swelled up, so I haven't had them since.
Wow.
And it's interesting. So and when you do something like a Whole30 or paleo, and you have hypothyroidism, then you're looking at things like eggs and nightshades often need to be pulled back too as part of your elimination, in addition to the paleo concept, if
Absolutely.
you will. If you're not hypothyroidism, then you can try to enjoy those kind of things. And so I remember my significant other, my wife, is just like, if I'm allergic to eggs, you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that in my head. So when we were talking, I'm just like going, oh my gosh, I'm never going to tell a woman at all that she can't have certain foods. Nightshades you got to get, but you were for sure nightshades and eggs.
Nightshades and eggs, and I'm glad I eliminated them.
And your life changed, huge.
I would have never thought that those were things that I was going to be allergic to.
So what are some nightshades?
Nightshades would be tomatoes, potatoes, okra. Little known one, ashwagandha. So make sure if you are eliminating nightshades that you don't have ashwagandha in your medications. Also, a lot of people will tell you that they are good to take if you have Hashimoto's, but I would say stay away from adaptogenic herbs, because the last thing you actually want is to increase your immune system. Additionally, eggplant, let's see, tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant.
And it's probably a good start. Was it
Yeah.
onions? One of them?
No, you can eat onions.
You can eat onions.
Peppers,
You can
hot
peppers.
peppers.
That was it. Peppers.
Yeah, that made me sad for a little while, but I found workarounds, so.
It's interesting that you mention ashwagandha and other adaptogens when it's the herbal community, right? When you start talking about herbals, because when you have Hashimoto's or an autoimmune response, you often have a stress response on top of that.
Absolutely.
And so you end up in this, so your stress response comes from the adrenal glands, which are these little walnut organs on top of your kidneys that secrete your fight or flight chemical neurotransmitters, and so called catecholamines, so your adrenaline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we often give adaptogens and ashwagandha and things like that to kind of start try to balance out those cortisols and that stress response. And if you're hypothyroidism,
Mm-hmm.
right, you may actually be working against it. So while I think everybody just wants to feel better and feel better now, there's really a stepwise approach to these kind of things. And so like for me, with my postmenopausal patients, we might do thyroid first. And then once you get the thyroid balanced as close as possible, hopefully that in turn will balance some of the sex hormones, and then you can focus on the sex hormones and so on and so forth. So, you know, you kind of, that thyroid is part of the big picture.
It really is.
All across the board, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I see a lot of people in the online community just promoting the adaptogenic herbs, and I am wary of that. That's all. Stay away from the maca, stay away from the ashwagandha, just for now. And one of the things to really think about when you're doing the autoimmune protocol is, yes, it's incredibly restrictive, but it's not forever. It's a really finite period of time, and then you can start to add things back in. And depending on what your sensitivities are, you know, that will depend on what your diet in the future goes or looks like. But it's a great opportunity for you to find out exactly what the ideal diet is for you and for your body.
Yeah, because not one diet. I eat paleo, keto, Mediterranean, Okinawan. I mean, you have all these different types of nutritional plans or dietary plans out there for people, and you see them all over social media, right? But you really need someone to work with you independently as an individual and kind of go through those. And you know me, I'm not much of a calorie counter. I don't do the macros and the micros and stuff like that, because that's overwhelming and complex. Not that if you're morbidly obese, we need to start looking at those kind of things. But if you're not, we can kind of, let's take some of the stress off and let's just focus on those foods that may be making it more difficult to manage our disease. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I also feel very strongly that once you start to lower your level of inflammation, automatically you start to lose weight, because your fat cells are where your body stores your inflammation.
Yeah.
So once you release it, you release a whole lot of other stuff.
Crazy.
Yes.
That's awesome. Are you having fun coaching?
I am loving coaching. I feel like it's my calling. So it's amazing. I'm really happy to be doing it.
Well, Danny, thanks for getting with Amyleigh. Amyleigh, as always, you know how much I love you, and I am so proud of you. If you're a patient of Island Direct Primary Care and if you have Hashimoto's, definitely work with myself and Amyleigh so that we can continue to help you along your journey. If you're not part of our community, talk to us. Message Amyleigh on Instagram and Facebook. Say, Amyleigh, let's chat, let's talk. Tell me how you do it. What can we do, and start building that relationship. You know, our practice, we're now, so my side of my practice is full, but Nola has some room for her practice. We have exciting news. We're moving in probably less than 30 days, a quarter mile down the street, and we'll be adding probably 1 or 2 more providers doing the direct primary care concept, hopefully within, at least 1 by the end of the year. So we'll see how that thing goes, but we're expanding, and and the only way we can do it is with the community here in Brevard County, and even those outside the state, right, and inside the state. So for me, you got to be in the state of Florida, but for you can transverse lines, right?
I can coach anybody, anywhere. So that's what's really great about coaching. Obviously, I'm not a doctor and can't prescribe you anything, but we can talk about your labs and help you to understand them a little bit more, and maybe come up with some action steps that you can take to talk to your provider and be heard. So
what I heard was, what she can do is help you be an advocate for your own health.
Absolutely. And if you follow me over on Instagram, I try to be incredibly transparent about what I do on a daily basis to walk the path of healing and getting better, stepping further and further into remission. So follow me and see what I do.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us, and stay blessed.